This is Joe Rabil, and we're going to do a full analysis of the S&P. I'm going to go through it in multiple time frames. We're going to talk about where the key levels are, how we're situated here, and then what the momentum conditions are underneath. All right. Once we do that, I do want to cover a few other indices. I'm going to look at the IWM, but I also want to talk about Bitcoin because of the way it reversed. It's a perfect example. Right out of my course, it's just a great 1, 2, 3 reversal off the top. I want to go explain that, and then I want to explain what we need to see in order to see it reverse back to the upside. All right. Once we do that, I'm going to go through a number of individual stocks that are showing signs based on relative strength and based on their price structure, some signs of improvement, signs of rotation. All right. We're in an environment where we're seeing some rotation, so I wanted to go through some examples of that. All right, let's go ahead and get going. Okay, we're going to spend some time looking at the charts of the S&P, but I just want to make a quick run through the market conditions first. There's definitely been a few shifts that have taken place here. If you notice, the trend on the monthly and the weekly are still fine, but the daily is at neutral now. And it broke both moving averages. I'll go through that in a second and what that means. On the momentum side, we have monthly positive, but I've moved it to the right end, closer to neutral based on something that's taking place. I'll explain as I go through the charts. The weekly, again, is neutral, but that's actually very close to turning negative. I'll explain that as well. And then the daily chart is already at negative. So we've got some shifts taking place in the momentum that aren't to the positive side. Obviously, some of these things, like a weekly chart, depends on how they close the week. Now, in terms of volatility, the weekly volatility is still declining, but we're starting to see that pop a little bit. So we got to watch that a little bit closer. The daily is still negative. We still have increasing volatility on that time frame. In terms of the overbought, oversold, we have moved it back to neutral. RSI 5 on the weekly chart has dropped down under 50, which is a good sign because we still have an upside trend in place when we look at the longer term weekly and monthly time frames. Now, the sentiment did drop pretty dramatically, and I view this as a positive. I actually should have moved this over to neutral, but it's still, it's in an area where we probably want to see a little bit more of a drop here. From 42 to 31% in 1 week is a pretty significant drop. And again, I'd probably, if I were doing this over, I'd probably go ahead and put this on the neutral camp. But point is, that's a pretty fast move for the bulls. The bulls kind of ran away from this. They got negative or scared pretty quickly, and that is a good sign in terms of potential support underneath. All right, let's go ahead and start looking at the charts now. Okay, let's start with the SPY with the average true range, which gives us a sense of volatility. Now, I look at it in two different time frames, both on the daily chart on the left and the weekly chart on the right. And if you notice what's taken place, we had a really good period. Now, I use the moving average to basically help with determining whether we have a true trend in one direction or the other, because this will jump around a lot, the average true range. So I smooth it out using an 18 MA. And you can see we went through a really nice period here where the volatility was low. Up until about October, it started to switch and we started to get some jagged movement, bigger bars, and increase in volatility. And from that point on, you can see we've kind of chopped around. All right. So we've got to be in an environment where we have rising volatility. I think it increases the risk for trading. All right. In other words, the potential for you to be stopped out of a trade increases in likelihood just based on the fact that the volatility is jumping around. All right. Now, on the weekly chart, it's actually been pretty good. But if you notice over the last, say the last month or two, we've shown a sign of increasing volatility. Now, it hasn't gotten back above the moving average, and the moving average is declining at a pretty good rate. So I'm not expecting this to reverse quickly, but it's something we got to keep an eye on. We did get our RSI 5 to drop down. It's actually bouncing a little bit with the rally that the market's having today. It's right around that neutral mark though, and the relative strength, the RSI 20, which is in red, is still well above the 50 mark. So this could easily set up an RSI buy signal. That's something out of my course where I talk about using these two RSIs together, right? So if this drops down a little bit more and then hooks to the upside with a trigger and price, then we have an RSI buy. So it's something to kind of keep an eye out for on the weekly time frame. I don't see that happening on the daily because the RSI broke. So we could end up forming a little trading range in the near term while this develops. All right. So let's go ahead and switch over to the other charts. I wanted to look at the 4 time frames because there's important things that are developing here. First off is on the monthly chart, we have big move that's taken place over 6 months, right? And we made a high last month, and now if we can form a pivot high, which would be closing below the low of that high bar. If we do that, then we have a pivot high in this DI, and that would actually signal that the ADX did not confirm this new peak. All right, so that's why I moved it over, because if we have a month where this closes below this prior month, then we have a pivot high. We don't have anything yet, but if that were to take place, then we'd have a negative signal. To me, it would switch this back to, I'd probably be neutral because the MACD did confirm, but the ADX would be in a divergence signal. All right, so something we got to keep an eye out for as we close out the month. Now, on the weekly chart, we've had some problems that I've been talking about. Number one, the ADX just hasn't been able to get anything going. I mean, the DI has poked its head above 25 a few times, but that's about it. And ADX is actually dropping, even though, we've been in an uptrend here. The one thing that's showing up now, we're getting a pretty good rally. The question becomes, does the MACD get back above the signal line before the end of the week? All right. If the rally continues to go, we get a really strong rally here. It's possible that this will get back above. But it's asking a lot. I think this would have to rally a pretty decent amount to actually have that happen. But notice how we got a rally right off the 18-week. I mean, literally to the penny. I think it missed it by 1 penny. So I like to use this because it has a little bit faster slope than the 20 MA. I get a lot of questions about why I use the 18 versus the 20, but I'll just say that the slope of it kind of switches a little bit quicker, and I like that. Otherwise, it's basically, there's no difference in them, all right? Now, because we've gotten this little rally, I think it's worth looking at the shorter term time frames. And one of the things we saw going into this peak was we're rallying up, and if you look at what's taken place, so every time we get a rally, we want to look and see what's taking place in terms of the momentum. If you notice, once we got to this point here, we got a really strong momentum confirmation, right? And then we consolidated, made another new high, and we got good momentum confirmation. And then we consolidated, made another new high, and look, the ADX did not confirm this peak, all right? We never got the ADX above 25 during this move, this last leg. All right. So this last leg gave us early warning sign that there was probably trouble brewing and that we would go through some type of a consolidation reversal where this 18 should come down and at least kiss the 40 now. Is what I'm kind of expecting. Now, the way that could happen is that we could work our way, hold the 18-week, and consolidate sideways, and then these moving averages could come together that way, all right? The other way that this could happen is we get this little rally that's taking place and it fails, all right? And we break the 18-week, and we go down and test the 18-month line. All right. If that were to take place, then, obviously this is going to show a pretty big, substantial move to the downside, and the ADX will probably be strong based on the sellers. All right. Now, I don't know that that's exactly what I'm expecting. Let me explain, because I think there's a couple key areas to keep an eye on. First of all, again, we are sitting literally right on the 18-week line right now. All right. So, and we're getting a pretty good reaction so far. Now, if we were to come down and violate that line, okay, and break it, then I would probably start looking at the next important area, which is this bar here. This was a big red bar that had no downside follow through from it. It also meets up with some of the this kind of little breakout area after this consolidation. So I kind of think this 650 area is pretty important to monitor. All right. If we were to take that out, then I think our risk really starts to increase. And we have this open area between the 18-week line and the 18-month line, right? We're 665 on the 18-week, and we're down around 600 on the 18-month. All right, so that's like 6,000 on the S&P. So it's something to keep an eye on, because if we break the 18-week and we take out this 650 area, then I think we have to start thinking that the risk really starts to skyrocket a little bit. All right, and we could have a fast move down. There's nothing but open air because this went straight up, so it could easily come straight down. Now, I do think that would probably present an opportunity if we got that. But I think it's something we have to keep an eye on. So keep an eye out at this 18-week line, and then this area right below it, which is right around the 650 area on the spider. All right. Now, we have this ABC that has taken place on the hourly chart. Now, we're trying to violate the trend line. If you notice, this trend line is literally right on top of the 18-hour line. All right. So the 18 MA on the hourly, all right, and the trend line are exactly the same. So this is what I kind of teach in the course about how I use my trend lines. It's a stronger trend line. It's a more significant trend line to me if they are the same. If the price and the direction, the slope are the same, if the trend line is the same as the 18, then I know I've got a good trend line on my hands. All right, so this is something to keep an eye on. So we're trying to violate that. I think if we can break that, we probably need some kind of a test and then a turn to the upside based on the fact that we've broken the 18-day. All right, the 18-day is rolling over, and it's going to act as resistance as we rally up. So if you notice, we've got support from the 18-week and resistance from the 18-day. All right, and now we're trying to see what the 18-hour is going to do. Is it going to get above this line? Because right now it's not really above it. It's sitting right at it. All right, it could still fail. We've had a little mini ABC rally on the hourly chart, but if we get some follow through here, then we would be looking for some kind of a little higher low in the form of this holding, maybe forming a pinch or something like that on the MACD. All right. Now, again, we still have this lingering resistance from the 18 days, so we got to keep an eye out. So the only way I would play any kind of a reversal to the upside based on the hourly would be if the momentum really showed signs of strength. We'd have to see some really powerful bars to the upside, kicking things into gear. If you're enjoying the content, hit that like button and also subscribe. Now, I'm having a Black Friday sale from now until December 1st. Anytime in there, you can get the link in the description if you're interested. It's all 3 courses. It's a bundle at a discount. So feel free to take a look at that. Let's take a look at the IWM here. I just like to keep watching this. It just gives us an idea of the broader market, and if we're going to see some expansion, I think it's going to show up here. Now, one of the things I'm watching, and it kind of puts this on hold now, is this relative strength line. And I can draw in a trend line here, and we're trying. It's trying to turn. It just hasn't been able to get. It doesn't have the strength at this point. Certainly not from a consistent basis. It had to move off the low, but it doesn't show up on a relative basis yet, and that's really the key that we want to be watching here. All right, so we'll just keep an eye on it. When it happens, I think it'll be real important. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin, and I'm going to switch this chart to a daily because I do think it's important. When you're looking at a change in trend, and I know I used to call this training wheels for technical analysis using the zigzag, but I think it could come in handy at any time. And I keep this up in that upper left-hand corner, and I'll use it in multiple time frames as well. But the way I would look at this is we made this move to the upside, all right, leading up into August to September. And this is the peak move. And so I go back to the prior low, and that's the anchor for the trend line. And then I can go back as far as I want as long as I don't cut through prices. And you can see this is a really good trend line. It tagged that and tagged this. So we break that trend line, and then what we're looking for, so that's the 1 in a 1, 2, 3 change in trend. So that's the 1. all right? And then we rally up, but we don't make a new low. All right, so this is a key level here going across. Now, we don't make a new low, but then we go up and test it again, and we actually take this out, but only in a very minor way. And what we can do, we can take we can either test it this way, we can test it right at the level, or we can test it by going through it in a marginal way and then reversing back down. So this qualifies as a 2 in a 1, 2, 3 change in trend. And then if you notice, we get the hard move to the downside and we take that out. Now, it didn't take it out in a big way, but it rallied back up and then it took it out again. So we have that 1, 2, 3. This would be the 3 of the 1, 2, 3 change in trend, right? So we've caused a reversal. Now, what that is to me is presumptive evidence that we have a change in trend. It's not completely confirmed until we make another lower high and another lower low. Once we do that, then we've confirmed the trend to the downside. Now we've done that. Okay, so now we have a series of lower highs and lower lows, but we had an early warning sign on this break. We even had an early warning sign when it went up and tested and formed the 2 and then had a hard move down. Once that happened, that was a pretty strong indication that there was trouble brewing. Okay, now we've got this bear trend in place. Now what we need to do is do the exact opposite of what happened on the to the downside. Now we need to break the trend line to the upside. We need to make a higher low and then turn back to the upside and then potentially make another higher high and another higher low. All right. So it all depends on how this reacts. If we make a strong move back above this prior peak, then we really only need one higher low and one higher high because we've reversed the trend based on this this reversal going from a lower low to a higher high and then making a higher low. So that we'd be making our second higher high, and that's a reversal as well. All right, so this is actually, that second version is a more powerful version, and we want to be on the lookout for that. We also want to be watching for, and the first thing that's going to show up for us is a break of the trend line. But I would not try and be a hero unless you want to be a trader, and I think there's a pretty good chance this is going to rally back to the 18 on this daily chart because we've come down to some support. But, you know, at the same time, I think we're looking for a break of that trend line. And if that happens, then we can start to look to see if we've got a 1, 2, 3 reversal on our hands. All right. Right now, we're sitting at the 18-month line. And so we're at a really key level for Bitcoin. All right. Let's start going through some stocks that have been trading pretty well through this market decline. All right. Looking for signs of rotation. And what we're looking for are 3 things, really. We want to have a sign that the relative strength is showing signs of improvement. We also want to see signs that there is improvement in the price structure, right? That we've been consolidating here, and now all of a sudden we're breaking out above prior peaks, or we're forming some kind of a pattern that shows strength, okay? And then the third thing is momentum, signs of momentum improvement. And you can see with this last move, earnings came out and we got a lot of strength in the ADX, a lot of strength in the MACD, good confirmation based on that. We're now above all our key lines and we're looking for a pullback. We've been watching for a pullback. All right, so let's go through and look at a few others. BLDP is another one that's on the early side. I mean, look, my comments are for educational purposes. You want to make sure you do your own due diligence on all these stocks. And this is a $3 stock, but it's showing all the signs we look for. Improving relative strength. Look at the volume pattern here, right? Good momentum, improving price structure. This trend has turned, it went from a lower low to a higher high and then made a higher low and then a higher high. I go into all this in detail in my course, but the idea here is that the trend has shifted back to the upside in a powerful way, and now you're getting your first pullback. So there's certainly something to keep an eye out for. DD here breaking out above these highs, and we're showing, look at this pop in the relative strength line, right? Now we have low ADX on the monthly chart and low ADX on the weekly chart, but we've started to show signs of momentum improvement on the daily, and I do like the volume action on the breakout. All right, so it's something definitely to keep an eye on. Look at EXAS. Now, you know, the way I look at this is that we've got a trend line break in price. All right, we've got a trend line break in the relative strength. All right, and we've already shown, based on this move to the upside, we have already started to show signs of momentum strength. We show it on the daily, but we're already showing it on the weekly. And that means to me that we can watch for a pullback here, into the, say, mid to high, I would say the mid 60s as a potential buying opportunity if we get a little pullback here. All right. Now, we're not talking about a whole lot, but the price structure has improved, relative strength has improved, and the momentum has improved. ERO. So this is a different one, right? We haven't taken out these highs. You can see this level here that keeps providing problems, but we keep bumping up against it. And in this situation, we do have decent relative strength in place, and we have decent momentum in place. I like the volume pattern, definitely have momentum. And then we have a pretty nice consolidation pattern. And I think if this can make a move back above this resistance here around 23, then we could see this try to shoot up and break out here. Copper stocks, some copper stocks are trading a lot better. I think this is definitely worth watching. HTHT is another one. Nice basing pattern with the breakout, improving relative strength. Had earnings already, so we don't have to dodge that bullet. And so we're looking for, I think this has pretty good support around the 40 level. Look at LWLG, another one that is on the early side, small price stock. Do your due diligence on this. This light wave logic, nice move to the upside, confirmed by relative strength. So we want both. We want price action turning up and showing a shift in trend based on the price structure, but we also want to see improving relative strength at the same time. Look at the volume pattern on the monthly. These past 4 months, you can see that there's definitely been some buying taking place. We made it through earnings. It's consolidating, something to keep an eye on. Macy's breaking the downtrend line on a longer term basis with relative strength, with momentum. Worth watching on a pullback. BTU, a coal stock, has made a really strong move to the upside with momentum confirmation, and we've got relative strength on this move as well. Now, it hasn't officially broken out, but I think if we get a healthy consolidation here and another move through 30, then I would consider that a pretty nice buyable situation. SEE is another one. Look at this breaking out of this base after undercutting the low, and then we get an undercut and rally pattern, and you get this strong move. Look at the size of the bars, look at the volume pattern, look at the momentum improvement and the relative strength. Okay, SU breaking out of this base, long area. This has struggled to break through, and we're starting to see some signs of improvement in energy. Little bit of a poke up here on the relative strength line, but we've got improvement on the momentum, and we've got improvement on the volume improvement for sure. Let's look at one more here. We get a really strong move out of UHS, right? Look at the confirmation on an RS basis. We're back above the 18-month line. We're showing signs of improvement already on the momentum with the ADX moving up and the MACD. We just need a pullback here. I think it's worth watching for this as it consolidates and pulls back a little bit. Thanks for watching. If you have any stock requests, you can send them to stocktalk@stockcharts.com or just put them in the comment area below. Also, if you want to learn more about some of these techniques, I would suggest going to my YouTube channel. It's Joe Rabil, RSR. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.